Hello everyone. In this video, let us try to understand how to write about IS5213 week 3 case study 1. According to the task summary, we are supposed to read an article, Data Cleansing and Omission from Data Analytics coursework, and we should understand what is 80 by 20 rule, and then we need to identify some function that will be performed by the data analyst, and we should describe to which part, 80% part or 20% part, that function depends, that function is related to, and we are supposed to explain how it comes under that particular situation, that particular rule, and what kind of activities that need to be performed to improve the time spent on the selected responsibility. Okay, so for that purpose, I might be sharing you a task briefing video, which I am making now. You are supposed to listen to this video. In addition to that, if you read this blog and if you watch these videos, you can understand what kind of performances business analysts or data analysts perform to complete data analysis. Okay, so this link clearly shows what kind of roles and responsibilities business analysts will have. And these videos, it contains some programming video just for example purpose. Don't get confused that you are supposed to create any program or something. It is just for understanding purpose. And this video, the first video clearly shows what is meant by data cleansing. Okay, so let me continue with the task. We need to understand first, we need to open the article. The article is already attached to you. So this is the article, and open that article and read it. Okay, in that article, you need to identify what is 80 by 80 by 20 rule. Okay, let me show the screen. So in the literature review, it clearly shows that in the case of business analytics or case study, if you read the article, it is possible to understand that 80 by 20 rule applies to many aspects of businesses analysis, and in multiple areas the rule applies. In the business analytics rule, this 80 by 20 rule means 80% of what work and 20% of what other work. There are two different parts we can divide it into. So in business analysis, collection of data, preparing data, and making sure that right data is available. For that purpose, we use 80% of the time. Here we are dividing it into two parts based on the time that requires. Okay, so when before we perform analysis, it is very important that we need to collect data. Okay, make sure that data is readily prepared well. Prepared well means it is free of all errors, and the data that is available is very much correct, because the correctness and quality of data always impacts the results that we want to create. For example, if you want to generate a result that clearly explains whether it is going to rain tomorrow, so we should have a proper detailing now. What is the status of clouds, and what is the temperature, what is the humidity. All these details are very much important. For example, if you have last year sales data, you can understand what could be the sales trend this year. Okay, if you have complete proper detail, then only you can properly estimate your data. Okay, if for some days if data is missing, or if data is incorrectly included in the document, I mean Excel sheet, then it is highly difficult to generate proper. So data preparation, data collection, proper data should be collected, and data should be prepared well such that it handles all unnecessary errors should be removed, and missing data should be handled, and data should be having enough quality such that when we submit data to the analysis process, it properly analyzes the data and generates expected results. Okay, so 80% of the work depends on collecting data. From where we should collect data, what kind of data should be collected, what format data should be available, and what is whether data contains any missing values. These kind of details should be understood. Okay, so after preparing the data, then we perform data analysis. For data analysis, it requires only 20% of the time. Okay, so because of based on the 20% of the time, you will generate results, interpret it, and you will report it. So this rule will be applied. Now the question is, you need to identify an activity, like an activity that a data analyst perform. So as the topic is related to data cleansing, we focus more on data cleaning. Means we focus on 80% of the work that should be done. Okay, So let me show you a document which clearly explains what is 80% of the data, what data analysts do in 80% of the time during 80% of the time of analysis, and what remaining work 20% of the time, what data analysts do, that will be explained in that document. Okay, so this is the data. So these are the activities that are performed by the data analysts, and I divided into 80% of the time and 20% of the time the people what researchers will do, data analysts will do. So first 80% of the time it involves collection of data, data cleaning and preparation. Okay, so first one, it is very important that data analysts need to identify what are the data sources that they will be using. Data sources means from where the data should be collected. So if you are discussing about weather reports, you cannot collect data from hospitals, right? You need to go to weather stations and you are supposed to collect what is the weather condition. Means your source should be appropriate. You should have right sources. Okay, so you can collect it from mobile data servers. You can collect it from um, this weather stations, and you can collect from some private weather stations that they collect details regarding the weather and other things. Okay, your data source should be appropriate. Then each weather station, like for example, if you take a weather station, it might be discussing about summer season and that related trends. The information will be collected related to that. So some part of the data will be related to rains and different situations. Okay, other situations. So your data extraction should be focusing on what is your purpose. For that purpose, your data extraction should be performed. Okay, we call data mining and data warehousing activities where data is identified, extracted, and stored in a proper format. Okay, this collection of data comes under 80% of the work. This is one of the responsibility that is performed by the data analyst. So what you can do is you can speak about the collection of data and you can simply explain each and every section. You can search online for different articles, journals, and you can identify information related to it, and you can create a document. I mean, you can create a nice section related to it. Okay. Next one is data cleaning and preparation. In that one, performing data validation. For example, if you have a Excel sheet, first thing is I recommend you to read data analysis and data correctness. You will get some proper information related to it. Based on that, you can write, but still, I will tell you. So, for example, if you take your student details, maybe name, you will take name, then you take maybe you can consider it as an employee data name, maybe salary. Okay, these are two different uh, files. It will usually data set will contain number of columns. The first column is name. So, for example, if you are writing name is Surya, and if second column it contains BN Rao's ID 1221. So this is not a data is not in correct form. So this data is related to something else. Usually name should contain textual content. Here the data is different. So you cannot continue with this kind of data because when you submit this data, it will generate incorrect results. So before that you are supposed to correct it. It's like for example, if salary is having 1200 in one row and 1200, so for other person it is 1990.23. So this will be incorrect form because here it is taking decimal form, here it is taking integer type. These are two different types of data because this data has decimal, no decimal, and this data has decimal. We should decide whether to keep the decimals or not to keep the decimal. That is what we call correctness of the data. Okay, you are supposed to put data in correct format. The data should be incorrect here. Okay, next one is you need to validate it. If you, for example, if you want this column to contain only correctness means you corrected it. Now validating means whether this data contains integer form. If you decide it is an integer form, this should be 1900. Okay, so there will be no decimals. So now this is validated whether this we decide that salary should contain all integer form of data, name should contain all textual form of data. So here it is 1221 is not a text form, it is a numerical form, so we will be changing it into again textual form. We make that changes. Okay, otherwise when it is 1221 now what we do is mm, 1221. Now it clearly shows that data is validated because for each column we have validated the data, and it clearly explains that name contains all the string data and salary contains all numerical data which has no decimals. In this way, data validation should be performed. So again, for example, if you have some people, multiple people, H is there, Y is there, X is there, but while collecting data, the person who is collecting the data, he might be missing some details. So for example, he don't know what is the salary of H. So he didn't included any data for that. But for other values, he already included data. Okay. Now this kind of situations where we have here five different people, but we have only four values for that data. So now what we should do with this missing data. So missing data should be handled. Otherwise, it is not possible to generate any statistical details. Maybe in your MBA, you might have understood in your coursework when you come across statistics or when you come across analysis, solution analysis, business analysis, operational analytics, any concept when we read, the data should be in proper format. Without a proper format, it will be an issue. Now, this kind of situation should be handled. You can search about missing values, how to handle it. So you can use statistical methods to handle it. Maybe average of all these values, that is 3678. You can keep 3678, which will not affect your data. Now, before this, what is the average value? It is 3678. Now also the value is 3678. Average is 1471. What is the average? 919.5. So I'm giving 919.5. When you check this, it will be 919.5. So the impact it will be having, so when you handle the missing value, the impact it will be having low. So like this, you will be doing performing several activities that are related to the data cleaning and preparation. You just cross check each and every element, and you can decide, you can write about it when you read each and every element that is mentioned here. So transforming data, cleaning data, loading data, inspecting data, reviewing data. For all these sections, you can identify, you can relate it with the data analysis, and you can write it. Okay. So now, first thing is you start explaining what is data analysis. Next, you speak about 80 by 20 rule. Then you speak about the responsibility you have selected. I mean, you can select both data cleaning and preparation, or you can select data collection. You can select both the elements. Okay, you should discuss what is the responsibility and what activity is performed under it. That should be explained. That is all, and what you should do to improve the quality, improve that 80% of the time consumption is reduced. Okay, so to do this properly, so means to reduce the work effort that is required to perform on data cleaning and preparation, what we should do, we should collect the right form of data. Okay, when you collect right form of data, you should take care in identifying appropriate data sources. You are supposed to take care extracting proper information. Your data mining and data warehousing activity should be very effective, because when you collect right form of data, then the data cleaning activity can be simplified. Okay, it can be done easily, quickly it can be done. So then what happens is the time that is required for completing these two activities will be reduced. So your focus to improve this process, you are supposed to make sure that the collection of data and the data mining and data warehousing activities are properly done. Okay, so that is so simple. And another important thing is selection of right tool. So when we will be having multiple tools to perform data analysis, right? When you use an appropriate tool, for example, if you use programming tool, it takes a lot of time to code complete data. So it might take a lot of time to complete the process. If you take GUI tools, graphic user interfaces, which are direct plug and play and just clicking, when you click a simple button, when you arrange small things in your graphic user interface, and when you click button, it performs all the cleaning activities. So that also reduces time. So selection of right analysis tool for cleaning and preparation is one important option that reduces your effort. Then another most important thing is collection of right data. Okay, So after discussing all these things, how we can improve this 80% time is means you can reduce 80% times to just total time. If it takes 10 hours, you can reduce it to 5 hours when you have right form of data. Okay, so that's it, team. You just prepare your document properly. It's mostly theoretical. Don't get confused. All the best.